Resilience is the hallmark of a champion. This is episode number 38 of the Mindset Artistry Podcast. I'm your host, David DiPaolo. Thank you for joining. I wanted to open up this podcast with that quote for two reasons. One, obviously, I have an Eagles hat on. I have an Eagles hoodie. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. They just won the Super Bowl. They beat the hell out of the Chiefs. They left, no question marks whatsoever. They beat them on both sides of the ball. It was a great game. It was a great game for the Eagles. It was a great team game. Great game for Jalen Hurts. This was huge for the city. The city needed it. We got our get back. We lost to them 2 years ago, and there was a lot of controversy in that game with the refs. That became a big focal point this year. People were talking about the refs and the Chiefs getting a lot of help from the refs, and to the point where they were even asking players, and players were talking about it in the press conferences before the Super Bowl, and it was a big deal. And look, I'm not going to get too far into like the refs and cheating and games being fixed and all that stuff, but I will put it this way. You can equate this to boxing as well. You never want to leave something in the hands of the judges. So, the way to combat that is you go out there and just, beat the hell out of them. And that's what they did. So if you look at this like a boxing match and a judge can't, rob it from you, it's the same in football, right? Like those referees are judges, and they took it out of their hands, right? Like they never took their foot off the gas. They just, pounded them into the ground, offense, defense. Mahomes couldn't get anything going. They had them scoreless pretty much like three quarters. It wasn't until like right into the end of the third quarter that they actually scored. But just great game, great thing for the city. We're going to celebrate. We're going to go to the parade. It's going to be really, it's really awesome. And let's keep it going. I mean, I think the Philadelphia Eagles have a great team that they can continue to find success. There's a lot of intricate pieces that they already have, and they can just keep building it. They got to, re-sign a couple of guys. I know there's going to be some salary cap stuff, but I think Howie Roseman proved that he can get it done, and he will get it done. So we might, we're going to be back in the Super Bowl again for years to come. So, just had to get that off my chest. Obviously, as an Eagles fan, I'm very happy. I'm very proud of this team. But the second reason why I want to talk about resilience, and we can compare it to this team, okay? Resilience is the hallmark of a champion. Resilience doesn't get talked about enough. When you talk about all these different, factors and intangibles and parts of your mindset that go into winning and being a champion, resilience is one that kind of gets looked over and passed over a lot of times. And it's an important one, right? Resilience, grit, how you handle adversity. And, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at even Nick Sirianni, you look at Barkley, those three guys in particular, resilience is a great characteristic that those three showed just how good they really are, right? Nick Sirianni constantly is under fire for his coaching, definitely had a letdown year last year. I mean, we started off like 10-1, and then the last, 5 games, whatever it was, we lost badly, got bumped out in the first round of the playoffs. So, there was a lot of questions, right? And they got rid of their coordinators and made some moves and brought more people on the team. But one of those additions was Barkley, right? And, there was a lot of questions about him. He's had health problems, throughout his career. And, there's definitely a contingency of people knowing that running backs have a short shelf life in the NFL. And generally older running backs don't do very well. They don't pay these guys enough. They a lot of times don't pay guys after their contract because they know they have a short life. Like, it is a business, right? But Barkley proved otherwise this year, right? He had an amazing year. Could have broke the record if he wanted to. And say what you want, like there's more games, all that other bullshit. He would have did it with less carries. Just shut the fuck up about that. I'm tired of hearing it, right? He would have broke the record if he wanted to. He didn't play that last game because he is a team guy, okay? But then I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did eventually break the record for postseason and going into the playoffs, a regular season and postseason for total yards. So look, he's an amazing player. He proved his value. He proved his worth when people were clowning the Eagles when they picked him up. They said, this is crazy. They're going to regret this. He's just not that good anymore. He's going to get hurt. He's this, he's that. And he proved otherwise, right? Like, in my opinion, he was the most valuable player. And, that has turned into basically a quarterback award now, which is absurd. If you look at someone who's the most valuable player on a team, Barkley had the biggest impact on a team than any other player, right? And Josh Allen, in my opinion, wasn't even the best quarterback this year, let alone to get the MVP. So Barkley should have gotten it, right? I mean, he was just phenomenal all year. It's a regular season award, and in the regular season, no one was better than him. I mean, it was insane how good he was. Like, he was doing things that people haven't seen a running back do in years. So, look, we look at that. You look at, like I said, Sirianni, like in the beginning of the year, they were talking about, getting a new coach, right? The guy goes on to win the Super Bowl. And look, you could talk about his attitude sometime. You could talk about some of the things that he says and the way he carries himself sometime. But at the end of the day, man, like, results speak for themselves, right? The guy has made the playoffs the last 4 years as a head coach. He went to the Super Bowl twice and won one now, right? So, and then lastly, I want to talk about Jalen Hurts, right? I mean, this guy constantly is under fire. He can't throw the ball. He's not accurate. He can't throw the ball long. He does this and that. And, for a long time, and when we first drafted him, I was probably one of the lone few that was happy that we drafted him. In my opinion, Carson Wentz just wasn't that good. He had that one good year. Foles took over and we won the Super Bowl that year. But Wentz was pretty one-dimensional. I mean, a lot of his passing went to Zach Ertz, a lot of his stats. I mean, you could say we really didn't have great receivers at the time when we had him, but at the end of the day, like, he had a terrible attitude. He really was never as good as he was after the injury. He was injury prone. He constantly was getting hurt, just different things. So I was really happy when they drafted Hurts. And I looked at Hurts and I said, look, here's a guy that I know is a winner, right? He had success at Alabama. He had success at Oklahoma. I mean, just an amazing competitor, and went through a lot of adversity, right? Went through a lot of things in his career where he got benched in Alabama. Tua came in, the whole nine, and he transferred. Gets drafted by the Eagles. Everyone said it was a terrible pick. Then he becomes a starter, had success, right? Like, the guy went to the playoffs all 4 years as a starter. And, but there was always scrutiny. It was always, he can't do this. He doesn't do this good. He's this, he's that, he's this. The guy wins games, man. Like, that's, at the end of the day, like, that is the result, right? The end result: win games, win playoff games, and go to Super Bowls and win Super Bowls. So in the 4 years, that he has been the starting quarterback, he went to the playoffs all 4 years, made the Super Bowl twice, barely came short the first time, and then won this one. Like, left no doubt whatsoever. Became Super Bowl MVP. So, here's a guy that constantly has to answer questions of people disbelieving his talents and what he can do. And he showed how resilient he is. He showed how dedicated he is. He showed the grit that he has. So look, all around, the Eagles in general have this, right? They had resilience. They had grit. They had mental toughness. They had something to prove this year, right? They came out and they did it, and they left no questions, right? I mean, so anyone who thinks that Jalen Hurts can't get the job done, I don't know what you're looking at this point, right? If anyone, wants to look at Nick Sirianni and say, he's not a good coach, I don't know what you're looking at anymore. Obviously, no one could sit here and say Barkley isn't a great running back, but there were questions coming in this year. But obviously, he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. So I think he's got quite a few more years where he could play at a high level. And as long as he stays healthy, I see no reason why he can't. Right. So look, this team embodies resilience, grit, mental toughness. They have a great mindset. And that's one of the other things I love about Jalen Hurts. He always says the right things. Like, when at interviews, after games, post-game press conferences, before, whatever, he says the right things all the time. Like, the guy wants to win. That is what he's worried about. He drowns out the noise of all the other nonsense. In my opinion, I think he loves proving people wrong. And that's a great way to be. And, I love, like, his connection to Michael Jordan as well. And Michael Jordan has a lot of respect for him. And when you look at Michael Jordan, in my opinion, is the ultimate competitor ever. Kobe's a very close second, but other than that, like especially in basketball, like you're not going to see other guys like him. Like he was so dedicated and so insanely competitive and just had such a great mindset when it came to winning. And Tim Grover, I would read his books if I were you, because he talks about this kind of stuff a lot. But Hurts has that, right? Like Hurts, when you listen to him talk, he has that. He has that mentality, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing to watch. I'm glad he's our quarterback, and he's going to be great for many years to come. And I just hope people stop criticizing him all the time. Does he make mistakes? Sure. Every quarterback does. Is there things he can improve on? Sure. But I know he works his ass off. I know he's going to continue to work his ass off. And in that, you fix things that are wrong with your game. But, this year, what was wrong with his game? The guy's Super Bowl MVP, won the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I don't know how much you can criticize the guy. But resilience. And you can apply that to your own life, whatever it is you're trying to do. Whether it's your career, whether it's your business, whether it's your health, whatever it is, like you need to be resilient, right? Like you have to have grit. Grit's another great book. I would read that as well. You have to have mental toughness. Mental toughness is something that my high school football coach drilled into our heads. And as a kid in high school, I thought I knew what it meant, but we really didn't. But that was something that he just drilled in our brains. Like you have to have mental toughness. You have to have mental fortitude. You have to be strong. You have to be tough in your mind. Like your mind is where it all starts. And that's where resilience comes from, right? Like you have to be mentally tough. That will put you in the best position to win. That will help you overcome adversity, and it'll help you get through anything, right? And it's something that that you have in the back of your mind, that you're not going to let anything stop you or get in front of you, and you are always going to give 100%, to do everything you have to do to win, because you are resilient, because you can handle adversity, because you have grit, because you are mentally tough. Like put those 4 things together all the time, and if there's something to aspire to be for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, that should be the playbook, right? That's the playbook. So apply that to your life, into anything that it is that you're trying to accomplish or be great at, and really dial in on it, and you will be successful. You will win. You will be a champion. Resilience is the hallmark of a champion. That's it. I'll see you all next week. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the Mindset Movement. Go Birds. I can't wait for the parade. We're going to go celebrate, and then we're going to run it back and do it again. See you later.